Jared Dillian. Own your money, own your life.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. If you'd like to call to talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian Show. You can also go to my website, which is jareddillianmoney.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at DailyDirtNap. And I am a racquetball player, and I'm pretty good. So basically, if you're a racquetball player, there's a bunch of different levels. You can be a C player, which is the bottom, or a B player and an A player. I am an A player. There's actually a level above A. It's called Open. And the Open players are really good. I'm an A player. But I haven't played in 2 or 3 months because I hurt my back. But I played nonstop. There's a gym here in Myrtle Beach. I've played mostly for the last 9 years. I played a lot. I don't really get any better, but I played a lot. And I used to play with this guy. And he had this big beard, sort of a lumberjack-looking guy. And he told me that he lived in a campground. And I was like in a tent? He's like, no. I live in a tiny house in the campground. There's a KOA campground here in Myrtle Beach, and he lived in the campground. He had a wife and 3 kids and a couple of pets, and he lived in a tiny house in the campground. I don't know if he had like a mailing. I don't understand any of this. He had a PhD in philosophy, if that explains anything. But this made sense to him, and he showed me pictures of the tiny house. I mean, it was like one of those sheds that you get off of Lowe's. It was a tiny house, and he had 3 kids, and he homeschooled his kids. And anyway, he lived here for a while. And then what happened was his father died, and he inherited a little over $100,000. And he bought about 10 acres of land in the mountains in North Carolina and took the tiny house and put the tiny house on the 10 acres of land. And that's where he is right now, in a tiny house on 10 acres of land, miles from anybody, with his 3 kids and his wife and a couple pets. And look, none of this behavior makes sense to me. None of this behavior makes any sense to me at all. I don't understand it. Makes sense to him. And actually, that's kind of a good, principle to use in life, is that whenever you see somebody's behavior that doesn't make any sense, you can say, well, it makes sense to him. It just sort of explains everything. The kids are going to need a lot of therapy. Anyway, I don't like tiny houses. I like big houses. Look, I'm okay living in a small space. I used to be in the Coast Guard. I was on a ship. I was in like a tiny little stateroom. I can do a small hotel room. I don't care. Not if I don't have to. I want a big space. So I like having a big house. I talked earlier in the show. I want a 10,000 square foot house. Why? Because I can. So there's an ethics, I guess. There's an ethos behind the tiny house that I kind of want to dig into a little bit. And I don't know if anybody here aspires to live in a tiny house, but I'm going to poke holes in it. I mean, I think that people live in a tiny house, for one, want to save money. And I guess that's a very smart way to save money, because as I've said before, the size of your house dictates your spending. So if you have a very small house, then you're not going to have much spending. So that's actually, to be honest, that's the best way to save money, is to live in a very small house. Maybe not a tiny house, but if you live in a small house, you won't spend that much. So that's not a bad way to save money, but I don't think that's exactly what it's about. Because if you have a wife and 3 kids and a bunch of pets in a tiny house, how is that comfortable or fun? It's not. It's arduous. It's hard. And why would you put yourself through that intentionally? Like, it's more than just saving money. Actually, a few weeks ago, I talked about this Mr. Money Mustache guy. And, this is sort of the king of the FIRE movement, and how he likes to set his thermostat at 86 degrees in the middle of the summer. Like, there's something psychological going on here, that you want to experience as much discomfort as possible. And I don't understand that. I want to be as comfortable as possible. I don't want to experience. Look, I was in the military. I was in the Coast Guard. I experienced plenty of discomfort. Like, I had had more than my share of discomfort. I don't want to do it now at age 45. If you have some money, then you should want the best out of life. And you hear about these old ladies. This story pops up a couple times a year about an 86-year-old lady who dies. She kind of kept to herself, and she leaves $8 million to the local cat shelter. And I'm happy for the cats, but like, why? Like, why you had $8 million? Why didn't you? And inevitably, she lives in like a 600 square foot apartment and this whole thing. Look, this is what I'm trying to do. This is why I'm trying to help. If you want to call, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian Show. You know what's hard? It's hard to sell solutions that are based in moderation. It's easy to sell extreme solutions. And those are the solutions that exist out there. The extreme solutions. On one end, you have one personal finance guru who says you should have no debt, which I tend to agree with, and you should basically just be cheap and save as much money as possible and never enjoy yourself. That's one philosophy. And the other philosophy, which is the Robert Kiyosaki philosophy, is that you should leverage up as much as possible and buy as much income-producing properties and use as much debt as possible. There's literally nobody in the middle. There's nobody in the middle. The middle is wide open, and this is where I am. I'm trying to sell moderation. I'm trying to say, yes, you should eliminate debt, but it's useful in some circumstances. Yes, you should save money, but you might want to spend it from time to time. Like, it's really, when it comes to money, people really desire easy solutions. And easy solutions are just eliminate all debt, cut up your credit cards. And yeah, that might be an easy solution that's easy to understand, but it's not the right solution. It's an extreme solution. So a better solution is, if you want to conserve resources, when you shop for a house, don't get a tiny house, but get a smaller house. Get a house that you can buy with a 15-year mortgage and then pay off that mortgage within 5 to 10 years. If you get a 15-year mortgage, that does two things. One, you pay it off quicker, and two, you pay a lot less interest. And three, it actually does a third thing. Three, it forces you to get a smaller house because it has a bigger payment. You don't have to get a shed off the parking lot at Lowe's and live in it with your 3 kids. And the other thing that I want to sell, is that it's okay to enjoy life. You don't have to live in this state of perpetual discomfort. It's okay to enjoy life at the right time. It's called delayed gratification. And some people practice delayed gratification so well that they never experience the gratification. Never. They just never get there. Their whole life is living in discomfort. I mean, look, if you like to live in a tiny house because it's fun, then okay, it's a free country, it's fine. I actually have some Facebook friends who live in a tent, and that is not by choice. That is not by choice. The goal of the people who live in the tiny house, the goal here is about consumption. The goal is to consume no resources and never work again. My goal is to consume lots of resources and to work all the time. So on one hand, you have people who want to consume nothing. And on the other hand, you have somebody like me who wants to consume as much as possible because I derive enjoyment out of consumption. And since I derive enjoyment out of consumption, I want to earn a lot so I can consume more. I don't want to consume nothing and live in discomfort. I am not against consumption. I am for consumption at the right time. And, my friend in North Carolina, who I haven't seen in a while, he has some money. So his goal is to basically consume no resources and make that money last as long as possible and grow his own food and stuff like that and live in a tiny house. I don't get it. That's not a very full life. I mean, it's not to me. And once again, when you see somebody's behavior that doesn't make any sense, I guess it makes sense to him. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's not my philosophy. And, if I'm going to make a normative statement, I'll say it shouldn't be your philosophy either. Money is meant to be enjoyed at the right time. And it's all about delayed gratification. It's all about delayed gratification. You experience a little discomfort today so you can enjoy it later. If you never enjoy it, then what is the point? What is the point? You read about these people who have a 7-figure bank account and they live in a 1,200 square foot house, and that's it. And I don't get it. You can go on Reddit and read all this stuff about fire. No good ideas have ever come off of Reddit. We'll see you next time. I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show.
The Jared Dillian Show.